Hi, everybody, and thank you for being here with us today. My name is Aliyah Farard. I'm the Alliance to End Hunger's Hunger-Free Communities Associate, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this pre-recorded session celebrating the 2025 Zero Hunger Grant recipients. In this workshop, we will hear updates from two of the winners of the second grant cycle, both of whom have created powerful approaches to ending hunger within their communities and have some great updates to share. For a little bit of context about the grant, unlike traditional funding sources that may be distributed to support direct services, the Zero Hunger Grant is uniquely focused on capacity building, aiming to consider root causes and strengthen organizations to create longing systemic change. Last year, our grant winners initiatives included forming a food equity task force, creating new coalitions focused on connecting healthy food access to city planning policies, producing durable and folded paper maps that it had food-related resources and support systems, um, developing and administering a needs assessment survey, and several focus groups to gather data on food insecurity amongst the queer community. And lastly, updating data and mapping dashboards to identify gaps in nutrition services. By prioritizing capacity building in these ways over direct services and tackling the root causes of hunger, the grant empowers organizations to build a foundation for sustainable progress. This approach strengthens local resilience and creates long-term solutions that move beyond temporary relief. So the selection process for the grant was both rigorous and inclusive. This year, we received 10 applications from dedicated across the country, all of them eager to advance their local initiatives. In keeping with our commitment to transparency and collaboration, the process includes a peer review component where each applicant scored another application. So with that, I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to everyone involved with this process, including our volunteer reviewers, our applicants, supporters of the grant, and of course, Alliance staff. Your insights and dedication were invaluable in shaping our decisions and ensuring that this initiative reflects the collective strength and diversity of our Hunger-Free Communities network. This year, the Zero Hunger Grant Program was able to provide $50,000 in grant funds spread amongst 5 outstanding organizations at the $10,000 level. Our recipients this year include Arkansas Hunger Relief Alliance, Hunger Free Vermont, Montco Anti-Hunger Network, Oregon Food Bank Network, and United Way of King County. Our two speakers today will have time to share their work, their progress, and future plans, and you can find more information about the other 3 winners on the Alliance website. So with that, please enjoy the rest of the video, and thanks so much for tuning in.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jennifer Owens Bowie with the Arkansas Hunger Relief Alliance, and I'm honored to share how our Zero Hunger Grant is helping us create a stronger, hunger-free community across Arkansas. The Arkansas Hunger Relief Alliance is a statewide nonprofit leading the collaborative efforts to end hunger and reduce nutrition insecurity. Since 2004, we've served as the central hub for the 6 Arkansas food banks and nearly 600 local food pantries and meal programs. Our mission is simple but powerful: to ensure that every Arkansan has access to nutritious food and the resources needed to live healthy, active lives. We approach this mission through 3 main pillars: education, advocacy, and direct service. Because the ending hunger requires both immediate support and long-term systematic change. Our programs reflect that comprehensive approach. Through our No Kid Hungry Arkansas collaborative, we partner with schools and communities to expand access to school breakfast, summer meals, and after-school programs so every child has the nourishment they need to learn and grow. Our SNAP outreach and education teams help eligible families apply for benefits, connecting them to one of the most effective tools to reduce food insecurity, SNAP. We also lead nutrition education programs, which offers hands-on nutrition education and cooking classes that empower families to prepare healthy, budget-friendly meals. Beyond direct service, we coordinate statewide food sourcing and logistics efforts, rescuing and distributing millions of pounds of food each year in partnership with Arkansas's 6 Feeding America food banks. Together, these programs create a safety net that strengthens both family and communities. Our Zero Hunger Grant Project builds on that statewide network by using technology and data to take hunger relief to the next level. With this funding, we are developing and implementing advanced mapping and analytic tools that allow us to better understand and respond to food insecurity in real time. Using Geographic Information Systems, GIS, and new data sharing software, we can now identify food insecurity hotspots so we know exactly where the need is the greatest. Track network performance, helping us measure progress and direct resources strategically. Coordinate partners from across the state, food banks, pantries, schools, and farmers to ensure that food moves efficiently from areas of surplus to areas of need. This technology also supports our advocacy and storytelling work. By visualizing the data, we can more effectively show policymakers and funders where gaps exist and how additional resources can make a measurable difference. One of the most exciting parts of this project is how it supports community engagement. We know that hunger doesn't impact all communities equally. Rural regions, communities of color, low-income neighborhoods, they often face higher barriers to healthy food. Through this grant, we're using data to highlight those inequities and drive fair resource allocation. The mapping tool helps us see which areas have limited access to culturally relevant food, transportation barriers, or gaps in SNAP participation. We're also developing community dashboards that make this information accessible to the public so residents, local lenders, local leaders, and partners can actively participate in identifying the solutions. This transparency ensures that our hunger relief efforts are not only data-driven, but community-led. The impact of the Zero Hunger Grant goes beyond technology. It's about building stronger, more connected, and more resilient communities. In the months ahead, we plan to fully implement the GIS mapping platform statewide, launch mobile tools that allows family to locate nearby pantries, meal programs, and SNAP resources in real time, continue building strategic partnerships with local governments, producers, and nonprofit partners to strengthen Arkansas's food systems. This work directly supports the Alliance to End Hunger initiative goals by strengthening local food systems, expanding economic opportunities, and using data-driven solutions to create sustainable change. Our long-term vision is that no Arkansan has to wonder where their next meal comes from, and that every community has the infrastructure, information, and partnership needed to ensure food security for all. On behalf of the Arkansas Hunger Relief Alliance, thank you to the Alliance to End Hunger and the Hunger Free Communities Network for making this work possible. Your support helps us move from reactive hunger relief to proactive community solutions. Together, we're proving that hunger is solvable and that by continuing and combining innovation, data, and compassion, we can truly build a hunger-free Arkansas. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Alex Walker. I am the Advancement Manager for the Modco Anti-Hunger Network. We're so proud to have been a 2025 Zero Hunger Grant recipient from the Alliance to End Hunger. And I just wanted to give you an update on what we've been able to accomplish with this funding so far. So let me go ahead and share my screen. So just for some background on our organization, again, we're the Modco Anti-Hunger Network, or MON for short. We work with a network of more than 70 food pantries and free meal providers throughout Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. And so for those of you who aren't familiar with the area, Montgomery County is a suburban county that sits just northwest of the city of Philadelphia. It is a fairly large county geographically and in terms of population. We have more than 800,000 residents, and it is also a fairly wealthy county. But we know that even in such a wealthy area, there are a significant number of residents struggling with food insecurity. So about 85,000, according to the most recent estimates from Feeding America. So when we originally applied for this grant, what we had in mind was a needs asset map for this region. So we really wanted to kind of dig into, what are the strengths of this very large network that we work with, and then are there any sort of gaps in terms of capacity that we as a coordinating organization could try to work to resolve. So in order to sort of gather the data for this needs asset map, we conducted two separate surveys. So first, we conducted a provider survey, so surveying pantry leaders from across the network. As I mentioned, we have about 70 providers in our network, and we received responses from about half of them. Um, I should mention that this is better than our normal response rate when we send out surveys, and I think, again, a large part was due to the fact that we had the funding to provide gift cards as sort of compensation for filling out the surveys. So again, I think we were able to collect this much data only because we had the support of this grant. Um, this provider survey, in addition to feeding into this needs asset map, I think revealed a lot of very interesting information. Again, just because of the timing of this survey. So it went out over the summer, and what we were able to capture, kind of the some of the most interesting data points were related to the types of reductions in supply and increases in demand that pantries were already seeing even prior to issues with SNAP. Um, so what we were able to capture really was kind of the impact of cuts to programs like TFAP, among other information. But again, in terms of kind of looking at things from a regional perspective, this really gives a lot of interesting information in terms of what pantries are most reliant on federal sources of food, what pantries might be most affected by these cuts, and again, how can we allocate resources to address these kind of impacts? And so, again, this is just one piece of data that we're able to pull out, but really a lot of interesting information on the numbers of people served, again, what sort of strengths these individual pantries have, what are they looking for help with, and so all that information will feed into the needs asset map that we're creating. Um, in addition to the provider survey, the second piece of this was a survey of pantry guests. And so the provider survey was sent out primarily through Google Forms, but the pantry guest survey was mostly conducted in person. It was part of a lot of the survey collection here. And so the way we organized this was to essentially survey 10 pantry guests from our each from our five regional coalitions. So our network of providers is organized based on sort of the region of the county that they exist within. And so we collected 10 responses from one pantry from each of these five coalitions. And so we wanted to really capture, again, the sort of broad geographic, demographic diversity of the county. Um, Again, I think uh, pantry guests, the ones that I spoke with about this survey, they one appreciated the opportunity to provide feedback. Across the board, we work with some really wonderful pantries, so people, appreciate letting them know what a good job they're doing, and also if they have any comments, any feedback on areas for improvement. But also the fact that we were able to give grocery store gift cards as an incentive, I think, was really appreciated by pantry guests. Again, this survey went out a little bit later in sort of September, October. And so that little extra help at a time when people were preparing for the SNAP lapse, for the change in work requirements, I think that was also tremendously beneficial. And again, this survey's already, yielded a lot of interesting information. I'll just pull out one data point. Um, we have been trying to figure out as a network sort of how many different pantries individual guests are going to, just to figure out again, um, what do our sort of total numbers of people served look like? And from this survey, we were able to find that a majority of guests report visiting two pantries per month, um, which again, I think will be helpful when considering kind of, again, the interconnectedness of our network, but also trying to determine the total number of guests served in a way that we can sort of separate out duplicate visits. Uh, so again, a lot of interesting information here about demographics, about transportation. So that will obviously apply to kind of our needs asset map. And really, again, any sort of recommendations for what pantries could be doing more of. And so, as I mentioned, both of these surveys, the results are feeding into a needs asset map that will ultimately be housed in ArcGIS. And so we're working on sort of layering existing ArcGIS information into this map and then combining that with the results we gather from our surveys. And so you can see just an example of one of those layers here. Again, this is a map of the county. This particular layer shows the not only the pantries in the county, but also grocery stores and other food providers in the region. So again, it gives you a good sense of, again, the spread, the different sort of densities in terms of population here. But again, all of this will be factored into a map that will ultimately be shared with our providers. And again, um, I think what I really appreciate about this grant, having conducted a lot of this survey work, is just the simple fact that without this funding, no one would be doing this data collection. And we know that our pantries are really, doing their best in terms of the day-to-day operations. And so having an organization like MON that can step back, that can analyze, what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, and how can we address each, I think is going to be very, very valuable for the network as a whole. And so the fact that we were able to do this, thanks again to the gracious support of the Alliance to End Hunger, I think is really going to benefit our network for years to come. So really appreciate the chance to kind of share an update on what we've been able to accomplish. Again, we want to thank the Alliance to End Hunger for all of their support, and we want to wish everybody at the summit the best of luck with these challenging times that we're working in. So again, from everybody at MON, we just want to say thank you and good luck.